Some names are forever carved into the darkest corners of history. These are the people whose actions changed the world through fear, bloodshed, and unimaginable cruelty. Today, we bring you the 10 most dangerous people the world has ever known.
10. Charles Manson, the cult mastermind. Charles Manson was the leader of a cult known as the Family in the late 1960s. With a magnetic but manipulative personality, Manson gathered a group of devoted followers, many of them young and disillusioned, and brainwashed them into believing he was a messianic figure. He preached an apocalyptic race war he called Helter Skelter, borrowing the term from a Beatles song, claiming it was a prophecy that would destroy society. What made Manson truly terrifying was his ability to influence others to commit horrific acts in his name. He never killed anyone directly, but orchestrated the murders of 9 people, including pregnant actress Sharon Tate, through his followers. Over 2 nights in August 1969, Manson's cult members broke into homes and slaughtered victims in brutal, ritualistic fashion, carving messages into walls and using blood to write cryptic warnings. Manson believed these acts would spark the race war he envisioned, after which he and his followers would emerge to rule over the survivors. His lack of remorse and strange charisma captivated media attention during his trial, where he appeared with an X carved into his forehead and ranted about government mind control. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he remained until his death in 2017. Charles Manson is a chilling reminder of how charisma, ideology, and psychological manipulation can lead to unimaginable violence. He remains one of the most notorious criminals in American history. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. Richard Ramirez, infamously dubbed the Night Stalker, terrorized Southern California in the mid-1980s with a reign of unimaginable violence. Between 1984 and 1985, Ramirez broke into homes at night, committing a series of rapes, murders, and brutal assaults that shocked the nation. His victims ranged in age from 9 to 83, and his methods were disturbingly random: bludgeoning, shooting, stabbing, and even mutilation. Ramirez was not only violent, but deeply influenced by Satanism. He left pentagrams at crime scenes, carved satanic symbols into the skin of his victims, and often demanded they swear to Satan. His unpredictable nature and sheer brutality made it nearly impossible for law enforcement to track him. Citizens lived in fear, locking their doors and windows, terrified that he could strike anyone, anywhere, at any time. When he was finally caught in 1985, thanks to a group of vigilant citizens who recognized him and tackled him in the street, the relief was palpable. During his trial, Ramirez shocked the courtroom by holding up a pentagram drawn on his palm and saying, "Hail Satan." He was convicted of 13 murders and sentenced to death, but died of cancer in prison in 2013. Ramirez's crimes stand as some of the most heinous in modern history. His lack of remorse, his obsession with darkness, and his predatory behavior make him one of the most terrifying serial killers the U.S. has ever known. El Chapo, the drug lord. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was the head of Mexico's Sinaloa cartel and one of the most powerful and ruthless drug lords in history. His nickname, El Chapo, means shorty, but his reach and influence were anything but small. He built a billion-dollar empire by trafficking tons of cocaine, heroin, and meth into the United States, often using elaborate tunnels and bribes to bypass law enforcement. What made El Chapo so dangerous wasn't just his drug empire, but the violence he used to protect it. Thousands of murders have been linked to the Sinaloa cartel, from rival cartel members to journalists and politicians. El Chapo's reign left entire communities in fear, where executions, kidnappings, and torture were part of daily life. El Chapo's reputation grew with his prison escapes. In 2001, he escaped a high-security prison hidden inside a laundry cart. In 2015, he escaped again, this time through a mile-long tunnel dug into his prison cell's shower floor, complete with lights and ventilation. His final capture in 2016 and extradition to the United States in 2017 marked the end of an era. In 2019, he was sentenced to life in a U.S. federal prison plus 30 years. He is currently held in ADX Florence, the most secure prison in America. El Chapo's story is one of drugs, power, and bloodshed, and a testament to how a single man can destabilize nations. Pol Pot, the architect of genocide. Pol Pot, leader of the Khmer Rouge, orchestrated one of the most horrifying genocides in modern history. Between 1975 and 1979, he ruled Cambodia with an iron fist, seeking to create a classless, agrarian utopia. But his vision turned into a nightmare. He emptied cities, abolished money, schools, and religion, and forced millions into labor camps. Anyone associated with the former government, educated individuals, or even those wearing glasses were seen as enemies of the state. Torture and mass executions were routine. Under Pol Pot's regime, approximately 2 million Cambodians, about a quarter of the population, died from execution, starvation, or forced labor. The killing fields, mass grave sites across Cambodia, are haunting reminders of his brutality. Children were killed, families torn apart, and entire generations were traumatized. His regime collapsed when Vietnam invaded in 1979, but Pol Pot retreated into the jungle and continued guerrilla warfare for years. He was never officially tried for his crimes and died in 1998, reportedly of a heart attack. To this day, he remains a symbol of ideological extremism taken to deadly extremes. Pol Pot turned political vision into bloodshed and left an indelible scar on human history. Joseph Kony, the child soldier warlord. Joseph Kony is the notorious leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA, a Ugandan rebel group that gained infamy for its use of child soldiers, abductions, and atrocities. Since the late 1980s, Kony has waged a brutal insurgency against the Ugandan government, claiming divine inspiration while committing horrific acts. What makes Kony exceptionally dangerous is his strategy of targeting children. Tens of thousands have been kidnapped from villages and forced into combat, servitude, or sexual slavery. Boys are turned into killers, girls into wives for his commanders. Those who resist are often killed or forced to harm their own families. The LRA's reign of terror has spread beyond Uganda to South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Central African Republic. Kony uses fear, mysticism, and guerrilla tactics to maintain control, often hiding deep in remote forests and jungles. Despite global attention, particularly after the viral Kony 2012 campaign, he has evaded capture for decades. The International Criminal Court has charged him with war crimes and crimes against humanity, but he remains at large. Joseph Kony's legacy is one of stolen childhoods, shattered communities, and unrelenting cruelty. He remains a wanted man and a symbol of the ongoing struggle for justice in Africa. Ted Bundy, the charming monster. Ted Bundy was the embodiment of evil hiding behind a charming smile. Intelligent, articulate, and well-groomed, he didn't fit the image of a typical killer. But behind the facade, Bundy was a sadistic murderer, responsible for the deaths of at least 30 young women in the 1970s, though the real number may be much higher. Bundy lured his victims by faking injuries or impersonating authority figures, exploiting trust and vulnerability. Once alone, he would overpower them, often sexually assaulting and brutally murdering them. He revisited crime scenes and even kept trophies, acts of pure psychological depravity. His 1979 trial was one of the first televised in U.S. history and became a media spectacle. Bundy acted as his own attorney, showcasing his narcissism. He received 3 death sentences and was executed in 1989, but not before confessing to more murders. What makes Bundy especially chilling is how ordinary he appeared. He volunteered at a suicide crisis hotline, dated normally, and was active in politics. His story warns us that monsters don't always look like monsters, they blend in. Adolf Hitler, the face of evil. Adolf Hitler, dictator of Nazi Germany from 1934 to 1945, is often considered the most dangerous man in modern history. He rose to power during a time of political and economic chaos in Germany, promising national revival and unity. But his vision was rooted in extreme nationalism, anti-Semitism, and a lust for domination. Hitler's leadership led to World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, and the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were systematically murdered. He also targeted Romani people, the disabled, political dissidents, and countless others in his campaign to create an Aryan master race. His speeches were fiery and hypnotic, fueling hatred and rallying millions. He manipulated propaganda masterfully, turning lies into state doctrine. Through fear, violence, and charisma, he transformed Germany into a totalitarian state. As the war turned against him, Hitler grew more paranoid and delusional. In 1945, with Allied forces closing in, he committed suicide in his bunker in Berlin. His ideology, however, left a legacy of destruction that the world is still reckoning with. Hitler's actions led to over 70 million deaths. He remains the ultimate example of how one man's hatred and unchecked power can plunge the world into darkness. Osama bin Laden, the architect of terror. Osama bin Laden was the mastermind behind the September 11, 2001 attacks that changed the world. As the founder of Al-Qaeda, a radical Islamic terrorist group, bin Laden orchestrated a plan that killed nearly 3,000 people and reshaped global security policies forever. Born into a wealthy Saudi family, bin Laden became radicalized in the 1980s during the Soviet-Afghan War. He used his resources to fund jihadist fighters, eventually founding Al-Qaeda to wage global holy war. Bin Laden saw the West, particularly the US, as an enemy of Islam and sought to provoke conflict through large-scale terrorism. 9/11 was his most devastating act. Hijacked planes struck the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a Pennsylvania field. The attack led to the US invasion of Afghanistan and a global war on terror. Bin Laden eluded capture for nearly a decade, living in secrecy in Pakistan. In 2011, a US Navy SEAL team located and killed him in a daring raid. Bin Laden's actions caused wars, policy shifts, mass surveillance, and global fear. He remains a symbol of extremist terror and the power of ideology to inspire unimaginable violence. Kim Jong-un, the modern nuclear threat. Kim Jong-un, the supreme leader of North Korea since 2011, may be young, but his grip on power and his threat to global stability is enormous. As head of one of the world's most secretive and oppressive regimes, Kim controls a country with a massive military and nuclear weapons. Under Kim, North Korea has conducted multiple missile and nuclear tests, provoking fears of war across Asia and beyond. His threats against South Korea, Japan, and even the United States have drawn widespread condemnation and sanctions. Yet Kim remains defiant, showcasing weapons in grand parades and promising more tests. Inside North Korea, his rule is brutal. Dissent is crushed, media is state-controlled, and entire families are punished for individual crimes. Political prisoners face forced labor, torture, and starvation. Despite economic hardship, the regime spends heavily on weapons and propaganda. Kim Jong-un's unpredictability, nuclear arsenal, and human rights abuses make him one of the most dangerous leaders today. His regime is a constant reminder of what unchecked power in a closed-off nation can do. Vladimir Putin, the strategist of chaos. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia for over 2 decades, is often described as one of the most dangerous political figures alive today. With a background in the KGB, Putin rose to power in 1999 and has since transformed Russia into an authoritarian state, crushing dissent, controlling media, and eliminating political rivals. Putin's aggression extends beyond Russia's borders. His 2014 annexation of Crimea defied international law, and his full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 shocked the world. These actions triggered a humanitarian crisis, massive destruction, and tens of thousands of deaths, while destabilizing Europe and threatening global peace. Putin uses hybrid warfare, propaganda, cyber attacks, election interference, and military force to expand Russia's influence. He presents himself as a nationalist savior, but silences opposition through intimidation, arrest, and even alleged poisonings. His reign has seen the rollback of civil liberties and the re-emergence of Cold War tensions. With a massive nuclear arsenal at his command, Putin holds terrifying power over global security. His blend of political cunning, military aggression, and disregard for international norms places him at the top of this list, a modern autocrat whose decisions affect the lives of millions. Thanks for watching until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep, mysterious, and inspiring content every week.